they do not meet those requirements. And this facility alone, I mean, some of you may have went to school here, or have your children, nieces, nephews that went to school here. We could take you to classrooms in this building and see how the pod's set up. It's a security nightmare. Once you get into one classroom, you have access to all of the classrooms within that pod. And as we know, there are issues and security safety issues in our country is a huge concern. And so those pod styles, schools of that type, are being demolished. As we know, several years back in York School District 1, they built a new high school in York and moved the students out of that. And I know they use the building now, but I spoke to the superintendent just a week ago, and she said they're working to not use that facility anymore, the old York High School, because of the pod style, because of the security nightmares that they have with using that building now. And there's several others across the state, but those buildings are slowly being demolished and new schools built in their place. We also need safer campuses. As you know, our campuses are not, a lot of our high schools, you can just come on and there are multiple doors as you drove on campus. A lot of our classrooms have exterior doors to the outside. People can get into these campuses without even bypassing the main office. And as you know, when you walk in the main office here to the front doors, once you're buzzed in, where can you go? You can go straight ahead, left or right, before you even get into the main office to check in. And so these problems will be remedied with these new facilities. This also comes into play with retaining and attracting new teachers to the district. Right, because we know we're in the shortage right now with our teaching force throughout this country. And you think of the few that are coming through educational programs at the college level, you put a Chester High in front of them and you put a York High School in front of them or Indian High School in front of them, what do you think most likely they will choose? Teachers coming out, they want to go to a facility that has the most up-to-date and modern classrooms and has the resources they need to be able to deliver instruction. And if they come and take a tour, which a lot of times they do in the interview, they come and take a tour, Dr. Graham or other administrators can attest to that. They can come here and walk through a classroom and see this whole pod setup, oddly shaped classrooms, or go right down the road to South Point High School in Rock Hill, Indian Lane High School, or Catawba Ridge to Fort Mill. Like, what do you think they'll pick? And so those are some things just to keep in mind. Also includes on natural light. Research has shown that how natural light impacts student learning. It has impacts on health, wellness, and academic performance of our children. Exposure to natural light during the day, it boosts their mood, alertness, concentration, and energy levels. A lot of the classrooms here, they do not have windows at all. So imagine almost like we have students in a box trying to educate them. That's why we have the issue we have with academic performance. That's why we have some of the discipline issues we have. They feel like they're in a box with no light. So you think of issues when we have electrical issues with the light, the power goes out, you have all these kids in these classrooms, it's pitch black dark in there. That is a major concern. Our facilities will also allow for growth. As you know, this county is experiencing, the growth is coming to this area. It's already starting to come. We have developments that's out of the Richburg area, and there's also developments approved for the Chester attendance zone. And so again, our current facilities we're not in place or ready to prepare for that growth that will come to our district. And we want to make sure we're prepared for that as best as we can be. Again, I've stressed at the other two meetings, the facilities are not a need, they're a need, they're not a want. There's not something we say, we want to build new schools. No, our schools are in a state of emergency, and these are facilities that we need to have. Also, along with these facilities, they're also utilized by the community. It's not just for students Monday through Friday. There are events and things that are held throughout this county where our schools will be open and available for use. And one of the main things we will have for our athletic facilities, of course, and our fine arts students. We have a lot of fine arts students that want to be able to perform and have performances here, as opposed to coming into the gym for our fine arts performance. The new facilities will have auditoriums included in them, where we can have that type of setting, as opposed to coming to a gym, which is more conducive for a basketball game. And so those are a few things that our schools will be able to be utilized by the community, because these schools they belong to the community. They will belong to the community, so we will be able to utilize those and allow the community to use those facilities. In addition to bond passes, I'm claiming that it will. My plan is to establish a citizens review committee that will monitor projects and the spending throughout the process, throughout this bond referendum. So that's something I'm going to make sure that, because I know in the past I keep hearing these issues of transparency and lack of trust, these kinds of things. I'm here to change that mindset within this county. I'm asking everyone to give me a chance to lead this district, to build these schools, to have them in place for our students and those coming to this district, and to have major points of pride throughout our county with our facilities. I'm going to show you some images in a few to see what district schools look like around our county. And so again, with the Citizens Review Committee, it's important that we have this committee in place with representatives from all parts of the county, and we'll meet with them periodically to review the projects and how we're spending the funds, the bond funds. And again, just to clear up any misconceptions on it, when a referendum passes, everyone, the district can't just take that money and use it for something else. It has to be utilized for school construction. And as Mr. Nett will share with you later, we're not going to borrow all the money at one time. And as soon as it gets close to our accounts, we're paying it back out to pay off the debt. So the money cannot be used for other things. There's not going to be a bait and switch. This bond passes, the money has to be used for the projects listed for the bond referendum. We can't take it and give it to salaries or do other things with it. We have to use it on the projects listed that the voters vote for on those. So I just want to make sure that's clear. So I'll come back maybe in with some additional comments, closing remarks. So now let's just look at the screens we have here. I'm going to share some comments, and these are, as you know, we have a survey link that's live on our site. It's been up for now since the end of January, where the public can, or anyone can go in and post comments. And we look at those periodically, we share those with the board, and we share them with you all tonight. Just a few comments from what people are saying about the referendum. And we didn't just pick all positive, we picked some that are positive, some that are those who oppose. And I also have some from students that I'll share after this. So I'll read those for you. Our county is way behind on everything compared to other schools that we visit for activities. Our facilities are outdated, lack of available equipment, and the lack of a facility that is safe for our children to be in. I like that Louisville will be getting some improvements. The high school list does seem quite dated. I feel it's needed with more people moving into the area. Please look at the income of the community and what the community can support. Also, please redo the buildings to be cost effective and better represented for the potential growth in the areas, especially Lewisville. These bonds have failed continually because the desires of the people have been overlooked. Professional architects and capital campaign managers can make things look beautiful, but they cannot change the size of the Chester County population or the average yearly income. We love our schools and support them at a grassroots level, but most of Chester County are simple people that would like to see responsible spending make our schools safe and dependable. So those are just a few from community. So we sent a survey link to all high school students recently, and these are a few comments from students in the district. I like that we're going to expand schools so we can fit more students and improve the current state of the schools for the student body. I like the plans proposed location for CHS and the Career Center across the street from the York Chester campus. This would allow for easier commutes for parents who have children in multiple grade levels. I appreciate the modern aesthetics and the renderings and like the plans proposed layout. I especially like the proposed green space areas. Another student comment, I as a student will not enjoy any of the things that will be constructed as a result of this plan. With that being said, I still strongly support the proposed plan and think it will allow Chester to continue to grow in the years to come. The community of Chester deserves access to the same tools and opportunities given to neighboring school districts. The referendum is a chance to invest in future generations of Chester. History suggests that investments in projects like this always guarantee returns in the form of progress for society. That's the students in our district. I like the idea of having our own space to practice the different sports rather than using areas around Chester like the baseball field. I also like how JRTC is inside the building. I do not like the plan's focus on sports facilities. As stated above, I feel that money could be better spent on students to improve student learning opportunities. I dislike the cost. With all this new school, it's going to cost a lot of money, but it will be worth it for the long run. For perspective, I want to show you, as I mentioned, modern facilities that's around Chester County. And again, as I said before, it's not really trying to keep with the Joneses, just that I want you to see what modern facilities look like around Chester County and where our high schools fall in that. So of course, in Fort Mill, you have the Topper High School. In York Comprehensive High School. Fairfield Central High School. South Point High School in Rock Hill. Indian High School, of course, in Indian Lancaster County. And then Chester High School. As I mentioned earlier, schools in the 60s and 70s, they lack a lot of architectural character at all. It's a flat roofs that leak all the time, and we have those. Louisville High School. And Great Falls High School. So right now, if you want to try to compare the three high school facilities, Great Falls is ranked number only because their use of the current middle school building that they currently are occupying with all grades 6 through 12 right now, and it has better design. So that's one of the reasons why we're not constructing a brand new campus out there, because the middle school building where the students are occupied now, they're in that facility. Of course, there will be additions and things, renovations to that facility, but they're not in need of a total brand new campus, of a full tear down in the Great Falls community. So again, I just want to show you those images for perspective of what modern facilities look like around us and where we are in Chester County. And it's our hopes that you all are receptive to hearing us out and just being able to ask us questions, share with us. I do ask us to get to the question portion that we all want the same thing. That's the key goal. Everybody should be sitting here, but they focus on what's best for the students of Chester County. We're not going to give back to each other as adults. Previous administrations, those kinds of things, we need to focus on moving forward. I can't change what happened before 2020. I can't. And that keeps coming up at times about previous administrations. I can't change that. I wish I had a magic wand, and I would go back before I had cars last year and fix it and change that outcome, but I don't have a magic wand. I can only move forward from July 1st, 2020, when I became superintendent of this school district. I asked you all to give me a chance, give my administration a chance, and the school board to do something that's needed, greatly needed for this district. So when we move into the comments portion later for questions, I ask that we remain respectful of each other. We hear each other out, be receptive to the questions that are asked, and we'll do our best to answer those questions and hear from you and move forward from there. So I thank you for your time so far. I'll now turn it over to Mr. Adam Davis, my Chief Operations Officer, who will move forward with the rest of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sutton. And as Dr. Sutton stated, when I first started here a couple of months, I hadn't been here a year yet, I drove on this campus, and immediately I saw the safety and security issues that we have here currently. I could immediately drive all around campus. I could walk through the main corridor. There are several exterior doors that lead to this facility. The pod-style construction is a safety and security nightmare. As soon as you get in one classroom, you now have access to all the classrooms existing in that pod. So that's our main goal, is safety and security. And then improving the learning spaces, the learning environments for our students. Just providing modern, up-to-date classroom spaces and technology for our students to achieve academic excellence. So without further ado, I do want to thank Dr. Graham and his team. This is not just senior staff and Dr. Sutton's plan. All of the schools have had input in our capital improvement plan of what we need to have in our facilities. We've partnered with Thompson Turner Construction to help us with this and put cost estimates to our plan, not building a Taj Mahal, but building up-to-date facilities that weren't constructed in the 70s and so on and so forth. And we have with us tonight Ben Thompson with McMillan Pasman Smith, who will come up later on. And turn it back over to you, Doc.
My apologies. You would think after this third meeting I would have this memorized. I will not be able to make it out of here if I don't introduce my board, my bosses back there, and my senior staff. They support me, and this is not just a Dr. Sutton show, so give me a minute here to get back on track. Board members present. We have Mr. Doug Shannon, board chair. Ms. Brenda Fort, board member. Mr. James Fuller, board member. Ms. Nakia Houston White, board member, and Ms. Maggie James, board member. Is everyone back there? Yeah. All right. And part of my district office staff, senior staff, we have Ms. Melanie Jeanette, our chief financial officer. Did everybody hear that? There's a joke behind it. The previous 2 meetings, I keep leaving her off because I would turn to my right and I don't get back, make it over to get her. So, Ms. Melanie Jeanette, chief financial officer, first strings. We have Mr. Adam Davis, chief operations officer, who you already met. Dr. Will Pick is my chief administrative services officer. Mr. Wendell Sumner, chief human resources officer.
He's down there.
He did. Okay, I knew he came in. I saw that head earlier. So all right, and we have Mr. Chris Kristoff, director of marketing communications. He's the one that when we get those phone calls out during the week and make sure our board meetings are recorded and they're on our YouTube page there. So I think that's make sure I look back, make sure we got covered. That's everybody. Okay, we also have some district staff members there. You can wave your hand, we work for the school district over there. Several principals and administrators are in that corner over there. I won't start calling names, I'll mess something up. But we thank you all for being here if you've already had a busy day today, I'm sure of that. All right, now I can turn it back over to, you want me to go straight to Mr. Thompson? You're up? Okay.
Good evening. I'm Ben Thompson with McMillan Passing Smith Architecture. Great to be with you this evening. So you've heard Dr. Sutton and Adam express kind of the need. What my role is in this process is to really listen to these folks, listen to school administrators, Dr. Graham here at Chester County High School, or Chester High School, and his staff, and really translate those needs into first a master plan, a floor plan, and then a rendering to describe what those improvements would be. So just a little bit about what we're about to show you. It is 9 projects. It affects all parts of Chester County. Each attendance zone gets a new high school as a result of it. Is a replacement of this high school, a replacement of Louisville High School, and certainly a replacement of the existing high school building that's out there at Great Falls as well. A lot of what I just said about listening is really put together in the goals and objectives that we're trying to get out of this capital improvements plan overall. It was clear to me that maintenance was desired not to be an issue over the next 30 years. So building these buildings so that they can withstand the test of time and not be in the situation in which you are now, where you have lots of maintenance needs and really need to fund schools again. We really focused at the high school level. Like I said, they are your oldest buildings. They have the most needs, and really that's part of the plan to kind of alleviate those needs overall. Things are changing here in Chester County, and that's great. You are preparing for growth, so we have to make the buildings adaptable and flexible enough to entertain that growth over the years as well. So I'm going to go through just each one of the projects. There are 9. I apologize. There is just a lot of projects. I'm going to try to stay high level, but if you have any specific projects, or specific questions, I'm glad to answer afterwards, or stick around, and you can certainly ask me after we make the presentation as well. First project I'll show will start at the Great Falls area, Great Falls Elementary School. That facility has been touched over the last 50 years. There was a renovation and some additions to it over time. However, things have continued to change out there. So as part of the need for Great Falls Elementary School was first getting traffic onto the site properly so that we don't have that backup on the roads around that facility. To do that, we have to meet South Carolina Department of Transportation Code and rules for today. So you'll see in the building, in the floor plan surrounding this campus, a series of roads, parking lots, and that's really to alleviate that safety hazard that is traffic at the pickup and drop off for this facility. They also needed a little bit more parking, and so that was included in the plan as well. One thing that we noticed, and one thing that the administration there noticed as well and conveyed to us, was it really does not have an identifiable front door for this facility. So as part of this, rather than the front door being on the side of the building, the addition of a new front door for this facility, which would include administrative offices and some support spaces, as well as a security vestibule and a main entry point, was put central to the plan, so you know exactly where you are to go when you're a visitor and coming onto the site overall. What that did was it allowed us to take what is the administration area inside that building and convert those back to additional classrooms. Another good feature of it, so that they can continue to grow over time. So a series of additional classrooms there, and upgrading that gymnasium that's out there now. We'll look at a picture in just a moment, but it used to have a stage associated with that gymnasium, and that has been changed over time, so we're going to change that back to a stage so it can be used how lunch happens out there is some improvements to their cafeteria. Reconfiguring that space so it's a little bit more square and manageable from a teacher's perspective was a pretty important feature for them. It is tight in there right now. They are doing a series of lunches in there, but I think we can take what's around them and really make that into something that's a little bit more functional into the future as well. This is a rendering of what would be the new front door. That peaked roof area is that addition that I mentioned, the administration addition. Since it is in keeping with the rest of the school, you can see where the glass is. That really is your security vestibule. That's where you come as you drop off kids or come as a visitor into the campus. It does have a covered canopy over it, one feature that they don't have out there right now, so that during inclement weather days, you don't have to get totally wet coming into the facility as a kid. We are working through several different versions of this. All of them have that same kind of configuration. It's just a matter of how big are those canopies and and what type of roofs those are. So we're going to continue to offer a series of versions of that so that the staff out there can really think through that and let us know what direction that they want to go in this. Just very quickly, this is the area in which that addition is going to be. This is an existing photo of the facility. And you can see this is the side of the building. It says office on the left-hand side. That says that so that you know that there's an office there. It really is hard to, as a visitor, not as a parent, of course, you know where you are in the school, but as a visitor, it's hard to know exactly where you're coming into the facility day in and day out. This is that existing cafeteria. It is chopped up right now, but by revising that space, we can really make that into something that's useful and manageable for teachers during the day. Last picture here is the existing gymnasium. You can see that there used to be a stage there. We're going to transfer that back into a stage and put those music in our classrooms back into the building proper. So that's going to be a really good enhancement for that gymnasium overall. That's Great Falls Elementary. Moving over to Great Falls Middle High School, focusing really on the high school side of it, even though there are some improvements on the middle school side of the facility as well. Same concerns, traffic and pattern and parking were major concerns here for this campus. So we first start, you'll see all that road work that's around the main buildings. It is upgraded in new paths so that you can get that traffic off of the main road again and onto the campus so that you're not spilling out and causing any kind of safety concern on the main road. We did put parking in several different locations so that you distribute that out for this facility based on what's around it, whether that be athletics or the middle school side or the high school side, what have you. Other things that we did included in this plan are, you can see on the bottom left-hand side, baseball and softball there. Those facilities are not presently at that site, but to be in coordination with what other offerings are within the district, we included baseball, softball, and its assemblage of field houses and dugouts and all those pieces as well. We'll get to that building right there in the center. That is the replacement of Great Falls, the Great Falls High School building with a brand new building that has all the functions that are needed today. But also included in this master plan are upgrades to Lewisville High School Great Falls High School from an athletics standpoint as well. The colored areas of the plan here are that new high school building. What we are doing with this facility is totally demolishing the existing facility and putting back a new competition gym to replace the gymnasium that you would be losing through demolition. If you'll recall, well, you may or may not know this, but that gymnasium, this will now be the competition gymnasium and replace the competition gymnasium that's out there now. That gymnasium will be still in use, and it will still be kind of used for as an auxiliary gym or for tournament days, but this will be the main gym for the facility kind of overall. It also includes those are those orange boxes that you see on the screen, as well as the needed locker rooms for both PE during the day, but also for football at night as well. Additionally, training rooms and all the support spaces that come along with athletics. Top of that plan is, you see the arrow, that's the main entry, so we'll focus on that when we see some of the renderings of this facility, but we really wanted to make sure that it was clearly visible that this high school had its character, had a character unto itself for this community as well. Back to the middle school side, there are a few improvements to that middle school entry. There is not presently a security vestibule. We are adding a security vestibule as part of the master plan here, and additionally, we're adding some covered overhangs there, again, for the same reason of inclement weather, so you have a pickup and drop-off area for students as they come in and go out during the day. This is the entry to the high school portion of the facility, so you can definitely tell where to go as you drive up onto this campus. Clearly visible from the road, and really the icon for this campus overall from a high school standpoint. Zooming out, looking at it kind of overall, the high school building itself, mix of pitched roofs and low slope roofs, but right there you can see in keeping with all the pitched roofs that are around in that facility for the middle school and the other high school buildings on campus. Just a couple of existing shots. This is the existing Great Falls. I know we saw the new, but this is the existing Great Falls middle high school entry point. So that one will definitely be improved. This is the current Great Falls High School entry. Definitely will be demolished and put back new, of course. We've gone through this building many times, gotten on the roofs, popped our head above the ceilings, and we'll really look at it holistically and know many of the concerns that are with this building. Simply because of its age, its construction type, and its deterioration over time. So that's Great Falls overall. Moving over to Louisville quickly. So Louisville High School and Louisville Elementary School, we tend to think of this as a total one campus because the properties are adjacent to each other. Still the same things apply. Traffic was an issue. Those campuses weren't constructed in a time in which traffic had so much of a volume around South Carolina and in this community. We now have different regulations that we have to follow from that standpoint as well. So it really took an opportunity to look at how we can solve it, not only just for what would be a new high school, but how would we solve it for this entire campus. So that high school side as well as that elementary school side, while we maintain the separation between high school and elementary school. So you'll see a series of roads in and around these facilities. Louisville Elementary School, we'll start with that one. That's the bottom right-hand side of that screen. We are doing classroom additions there so that we can bring 5th grade back over to Louisville Elementary School as part of this, and doing some improvements from a traffic standpoint, parking standpoint, and also fire department access standpoint. So there'll be a road all the way around so that they can gain access in that way. Same area bottom of the screen, you'll notice 2 fields. The baseball and softball field, those will be associated with the high school. And I point those out first because that's actually probably from a high school standpoint, the first thing that we're going to have to do out at that campus. Excuse me. The reason is the campus is oriented and the building that's out there right now is in such a way that we really need a place to start construction, and that is the existing baseball and softball field that's on the campus now. So first thing we're going to do is remove those, move those across the way so that we have a clean area in which we can start to build the school on overall. That school will be built for 600 students, opening day capacity of 600 students. You can see that in the dark footprint that's on the screen right now. It is a 2-story facility, so we'll look at that a little bit, but it has all of the comprehensive high school taking that image of Great Falls and that image of Louisville, really transforming those into something that is more modern and contemporary for those facilities was part of the plan here that was described to us. So you can see this is the two-story entry part of Louisville High School. Of course, there's a lot of signage and work around that facility to make that happen. Zooming out, you can see the aerial of this facility and how those drives kind of interact with pickup and drop-off and parking overall. Here at Louisville High School, as well as in a moment you'll see Chester High School, wanted the ability for visitors to be able to access theaters and some portions of the building after hours. So you'll see some portions like this where you have separate entries, so you can essentially keep the rest of the school locked during those events and overall. This area is actually at the back of the school. This is in that academic area, so there's a big push, and I think there should be between indoor and outdoor learning environments. So these types of spaces give that flexibility for students to not only learn traditionally on the inside, but also have outdoor opportunities as well. Again, same, just existing conditions. This is currently the existing front door for Lewisville High School. It's existing portables that quote Dr. Sutton read initially about ROTC being in a portable and bringing that into campus. This is one of those, an example of that. Certainly crowded classrooms and ability to need a lot of maintenance and repair and time to work with. All right, so that's the Louisville attendance zone. Finally, here in Chester. So the property that you see is the property across from near the school district office, across from York Tech. So that piece of property is large enough and able to contain both a new high school and a career center. On the left-hand side of the screen is the career center. On the right-hand side of the screen is the high school. You can see some of the same principles apply really intended to be fully comprehensive. You can see there are three distinct wings. Each one of those wings is two-story and contains in the central area, in the central wing, a lot of science classrooms. On the other wings, the balance of 9th grade academics versus 10th through 12th grade academics. Student collaboration and commons areas were really important from the design aspect for the school, just simply because that allowed flexibility into the future when and if things continue to grow here for the high school, then you can easily adapt many of these features to the building to match that growth as necessary. In comparison to Great Falls High School and Louisville High School, has all of those comprehensive components. So competition gymnasium, auxiliary gymnasium, theater, and certainly the proper amount of dining for a school this size. It is two stories, so the balance of the academics is on the second floor, as well as the media center. The media center is over the administration wing at the front, kind of overlooks the front of the campus overall. So that'll be a strong feature for that facility. We'll start at the kind of zoomed out angle, simply because it is a large campus. It does have lots of facilities and features going on. In the foreground here is the high school with those visitor lots, with the parking necessary, and with the drop-off sequence necessary for students in the morning and in the afternoon. In the background, you can see the Career Center sitting close to the high school. There is a connection between the high school and the Career Center via walks and drives as well. Zooming in a little bit further, it is a two-story facility, so that gave us the opportunity to introduce glass in that front area, of course, where you enter into the building. But also, we wanted to make sure we respect the durability of this facility. So you'll see things like brick as the majority. Here, some precast concrete as a material that's very, very durable, so that you don't have, again, into those situations where we have maintenance concerns over the long term. But bringing light into the building, like Dr. Sutton says, has multiple aspects. I mean, it is good for students. It is also good for visibility from a safety and security standpoint as well. So we were able to really look at that here at the front entry sequence for here. I mentioned outdoor learning at Lewisville High School. Same things apply here. Those wings, between those wings, great opportunity for smaller size courtyards that are directly off of those academic wings. So you can have that push and pull between indoor and outdoor learning environments for this facility as well. This is a rendering of one of those three courtyards that would be included in this facility. Some of the existing, I won't spend a whole lot of time here. You're in this building, you've seen this campus and this campus, but portables, of course, some of the same roofing problems that are endemic in all of the other facilities. This is a view from the right-hand side of the screen, a view from the roof of Chester High School over to the Career Center. And you can just see in the picture that it's outlived its life expectancy from a roofing standpoint now. Safety and security, big deal for this facility, so wanted to make sure that we solve that problem with the new design, with those exterior doors and access to all the classrooms within this facility. Make sure that we form those in a different way. This facility has its own set of concerns as well, obviously, with flooring, the roofing, mechanical systems, plumbing systems, the space being used for locker rooms that are just sitting there. They're not really used very much during the day anymore. And certainly some of the ADA concerns, restroom concerns, all the things that you would need in a fully functional and comprehensive high school into the future, we were able to solve overall. So that's the overview of it. 9 projects overall, each one of the attendance zones affected, of course. So just in the final analysis The way that we looked at this were two parts. We call it question one and question two, but it is a two-part solution. So question one are all about safety and security and academics. So in that one question, you get all of the high schools. So you get Chester High School, Louisville High School, Great Falls, and Great Falls High School. And then you get also Great Falls Elementary School. And instead of phasing the Career Center over 3 phases, go ahead and get that sooner as part of it. So that takes care of all academics and all safety concerns in that one part, or in that question one. In question two, those are all of the athletic portions of what you just saw from a master planning standpoint. But we wanted to prioritize there because really priority one is safety and security, as Dr. Sutton mentioned and Adam mentioned, and academics, academic integrity, program integrity, kind of overall with that facility, with all of these facilities. When we total up question one, it comes to about $220 million. That is a significant capital improvements plan overall. It is based on today's value, and it is all things included, not just the construction, but also the site development, all the furniture that goes into it, all of the technology that goes into it, all of the fees and the legal work and everything, all components that are necessary to get a school from inception and conception into the field, into construction, and students occupying that building at the end of the day. All of that's included in that number, kind of overall. So question one, $220 million, and then question two is the balance, those athletic projects at $43 million overall. Thompson Turner Construction has been instrumental in helping us understand what that local, not only the local, but the regional economy and its effects are having on school construction overall, and what that trend is going to be over the next several years. So thank them. I thank them for really helping the district kind of understand that overall, and looking at scheduling and how we might put together this plan at the end of the day from a construction standpoint. So with that being said, I'll hand it back over to Dr. Sutton for a moment, and I think we'll be glad, Mr. Ned for a moment, and then I'll be glad to take any questions that you guys have on the capital improvements plan side. Thank you.
All right, now we'll hear from Ms. Melanie Jeanette. She will discuss the tax impact and discuss the bond question.
Thank you, Dr. Sutton, and thank you, Dr. Graham, for allowing us to use your facility tonight. If you didn't pick up the 2 handouts that are on the table, I encourage you to get those before you leave tonight. There are 2 documents, and one of the ones that we're going to talk about is, of course, the tax implications. It's a lot of money, yes it is, but as Dr. Sutton said, many of our facilities are over 50 years old, and sometimes it's cheaper to build new than it is to repair, and we have a lot of issues. We will tell you that the estimates were based on good conservative estimates, both by Thompson Turner, our construction company, and by our bond financial advisors. That's Compass Municipal Advisors, and the estimates that they gave us are with a little higher interest rate that we hope does not go any higher, but they're based on estimates that they felt were compatible with the way things have been built over the last few years. So these would be the estimates based on values of, say, a home value at $100,000 would be an increase of $406 a year, or the equivalent of $1 a day. Now, do you pay taxes daily? No, you don't. You pay them in one lump sum, but that puts them into perspective on the daily impact of what the cost would be on a $100,000 home. On a vehicle valued at $10,000, the increase would be $60.90, or 17 cents a day. Again, that is the equivalent of the daily rate of the tax increase. Currently, what the information that's given to us by the county is the current home value in Chester County is $102,000. that kind of puts this into perspective. The current value of a vehicle is $6,200. So you can use your own personal property and look at what an increase to you might be if the referendum was passed. The one thing I want to make sure you understand is if this referendum passes on May the 14th, we're not going to issue $263 million worth of bonds on Monday the 16th. This will be done over time as we continue to build those buildings and put into priority what's first, what's second, what's third. You know, chances are we're going to do many of them at the same time, but there will not be an immediate impact to anyone's taxes of $263 million over time. As a matter of fact, you more than likely wouldn't see an impact until 2024, because that first year, as we're beginning to build, we can issue what's called a bond anticipation note, and that's the anticipation of getting the money for the actual bonds to build all the facilities. So just if you take anything from me, hear that we would not issue the full value of the construction bonds on day one. It will be over time, so you would not see that increase. Mr. Thompson also mentioned the ballot question. There is an example over on the table. If you don't have one, I would encourage you to pick one up. It is in two parts, as he said. This is the actual ballot question that will appear on the ballot on May 14th. It is in two parts. If part one passes, then part two could or could not pass. But part two cannot pass if one doesn't pass. So I encourage you to read over this. Again, it's the academic and the safety and security parts on question one, and the athletic improvements on question two. But two only passes if one does. So we encourage you to take the information. Mr. Kristoff has a lot of great information on our website. I know I had a question tonight about homestead exemption. I'm gathering information, and we will make sure that gets into our our questions, our FAQs on our website. We encourage you to go there and look at that information. It is a lot of good stuff. And contact us if you have any questions. We want to be able to answer the questions to the best of our abilities that you have. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Say.
We have Mr. Robert Long, our Economic Development Director for the county. He was not able to attend the first two town halls, but I was able to snag him and get him. He's a very busy man, bringing industry and new jobs and things to our county. So he's here tonight, and I've asked him, and just yesterday, to share some information on the economic development impact on our schools. And he's been in different states where growth has occurred, as such as coming to this county. And so it's long for you to share a little bit about how that development, things that are coming here, how it's going to impact our schools, and what you're hearing from developers or industry leaders when they're looking at Jefferson County schools.
Thank you, Dr. Sutton. I think me and him are going to have a limp off on the way out. I had back surgery and I'm still limping myself. Thank you so much. I will say, unfortunately, I was not able to make the other two because we are extremely busy in our economic development department. We're a department of two, just me and another project manager plus an admin, and activity is really strong for us at the moment. I'll just give you a quick snapshot on that. Last year was a record year for us for project activity. We had over 100 projects. The first time it was like a 60% increase from the previous year. We also had several great announcements last year. E&J Gala was the largest announcement we've had in many, many years. Over 400 million, almost 500 jobs. Really exciting project over in the Fort Lawn area. At the other end of Highway 9, over here in Chester, we had another nice announcement with a company called Last Step Recycling that's under construction now. About a $46 million project. A company called Last Step Recycling that's going to create about 50 jobs. They open in June. Actually, for both these, for your information, they're hiring. If you go online, there are jobs posted for both of these companies. So that's exciting. The one thing I will say is, we touch primarily industrial recruitment, but we are involved with some retail, some commercial, and some residential developments that are looking at our community. Just to give you a quick rundown on some of the residential that's either under construction or has been approved or fully approved or partially approved. So we have two developments in the Louisville area off of Edgeland Road, Highway 901 that are under construction as we speak. both around 300 homes, Knightsbridge and Walker's Mill. Council back in December approved 3 more developments, and they were finalized, I guess, in the December timeframe. That is Village Drive. That is here off of the Cochran Bypass and Village Drive. It actually backs up to the middle school, Chester Middle School, and I know there's been some discussions about a walking path for those folks. 266 homes, 200 apartments, plus about 7 or 8 or so acres of commercial property on the bypass. The largest thus far that's been approved is Winchester. That's near Hernandez in Edgeland Road, Highway 901, up to 1,150 homes. And then another one that's been approved also, I guess, off of Highway 9 is Stanton. I think originally it was branded Cheswick. They've rebranded it Stanton. But nonetheless, that one is, the rezoning was approved. The development agreement has not quite got across the finish line, but we expect that to happen in the near future. Since then, the county's actually put in a moratorium. And as I say, so those are the ones that have been approved, partially approved, or fully approved. I know there's some more waiting in the wings for the moratorium to lift. And the reason the county put a moratorium in place is our current guidelines don't give developers guidelines. As far as lot size, minimum setbacks, those sorts of things. And so we're getting a wide range of things that are being proposed to the county. So part of this is to take a step back and provide these developers some guidelines of what we want in Chester County. The other is to create a new zoning category that's a dedicated subdivision zoning category. So I know the council just hired a consultant to get that across the finish line. We're hoping that'll happen soon. This past Tuesday night, they extended the moratorium by another 45 days, so there are no more rezonings for residential at the moment. However, I do suspect sometime later this year when that does get lifted and we do create this new zoning category, there will be additional growth headed our way. I think Mike Leversher mentioned there's at least 6 more residential projects that he's aware of that are just waiting for the moratorium to lift up and down the Highway 9 corridor. And I will say there's no magic to the Highway 9 corridor other than it is a divided 4-lane highway, and generally that's where the infrastructure is to support these sorts of developments. As a side note, my master's degree is in demography, so I'm a little bit of a numbers geek. If you go back to 1950, our population was around 32,000. Today, our population is around 32,000. It's been virtually unchanged. It's gone a little up, a little down. I think we peaked around 34,000 residents in 2000 census. I think that sustained residential growth that has sort of eluded us as a community is finally upon us. I think there's enough pressure from our neighbors, Lancaster and York, are the 2 fastest growing counties in all of Metro Charlotte. Both those counties grew more than 25% over the last census from 2010 to the 2020 census. And I think some of those, that growth has started hitting our direction. Now, I think I do applaud the county council for trying to get ahead of this. The creation of a new zoning category, trying to give these developers some guidelines of what we want in Chester County and what our expectations are, I think is fantastic. But nonetheless, I think that sustained residential growth that sort of eluded us as a community is finally here. And of course, I'm not a voter yet here. I am building a house, but if I get my windows in time, I will be a voter in time. Right now, my house is expected to be done in April. But my windows get delivered tomorrow. I've been held up for like 3 months waiting for windows to be delivered, so I am not immune to the supply chain issues. But nonetheless, it's an exciting time to be in Chester. From an economic development perspective, we've already logged in 22 projects for the year. Actually got a couple more in today that we haven't even logged in. So we're working hard every day on behalf of the citizens to grow our tax base. That's one reason why we focus on manufacturing so hard is because you get a lot of bang for your buck from an investment perspective. But we're starting off the year really strong. We hope those results in some announcements in the near future. But nonetheless, it's an exciting time to be in Chester. And me personally, I'm looking forward to being a resident here in the next couple of months.
Thank you, Mr. Long, for that. And thank you, Mr. Long, for being able to come out. We just had another meeting just yesterday, and we formed a great partnership with Dr. Pickens, who handles partnerships for the district. And we were meeting with Mr. Long and his staff over the past year and a half, and there's some great discussions on the development things coming to our county and how the district plays into that. We met with the GT CEO just yesterday, and we took this is our second time there, but took a full tour of the plant, and we discussed with the CEO as he drove me around in his golf cart through the plant on how our career center can be retooled or have equipment there to train students coming through the program, so when they graduate, we know some students will go to college, military, and some will go into the workforce, that they can start working at GT, and they can start at higher pay grade, because they already have this training at our career center, as opposed to starting working there and then having to wait several months or years to move up into management or other positions in the plant. And also, so that's our exciting time. So thank you again for working with us and sharing information with us. One of the things I will make a correction on, the one thing you all, if you don't know me, you'll learn about me. If I say something that's not fully correct, I'm going to clarify that. I don't have no reason to hide anything, because again, I like to sleep at night, and I sleep with a clear conscience. One of the comments I made at the first two meetings was that some of the new developments already planned were going to be 55 plus. But we spoke yesterday and clarified that there were some in discussion, but they haven't been approved. So I want to make that correction, that I made that statement at the first two town halls, that they were already 55 plus neighborhoods already approved, but they haven't been approved. So Mr. Long clarified that for me on yesterday, so I want to make sure that is clarified with everyone. And also, make this, and again, it's not to slam anyone, but as information comes to me, I'm going to share that. You all will see that I'm very transparent. I'm going to share, as I expect you all to be transparent with me. I've been made aware that there's a vote no group organized in the county, and it's disheartening, but again, I respect that. I can't, we know we're not going to get everyone to vote yes in the county. So that's just, that's out there. And again, I just ask those, if you're approached by anyone with the Vote No Committee, that you can hear them out, but I ask that you just really look at the focus on why we're doing this. If that Vote No Committee is focused truly on how this is going to be detriment to you alone and not because of previous administrations, then I ask you to really be careful with that. And so with those types of things. So again, I don't just have issues with the Vote No group, because you're going to get that. You're going to get that, right? Who wants taxes to be increased? Nobody's going to raise their hand to do that. But again, we know what our needs are, and again, it's not something we just kind of woke up one morning and say, well, let's put $263 million on a ballot. That's not the case here. These are needs. Again, 50 years, this is where we are because of things were not done over the years, and we can't go back to that. But now we're playing catch up. This brings us up to baseline where we need to be within our county. So again, I ask everyone to give this a fair shot, and you vote your conscience when you go to the polls on May 14th. So now we'll open up for questions for a period of time from you all. It doesn't have to be just questions, it can be comments. And it could be, if you oppose it or have some issues, just say, speak that. Because I think some people come up to me after and they tell me positive things, but I'm like, why did you say it at the mic? We got them right there. So let me hear from, if you support it or you have positive things to say about the plan, we want to hear that too. And so at this time, we have two mics out. You can feel free to come up to the mic. And just any questions you have, anything you need to clarify. If I can't answer it, I'm going to point this guy with the red tie on, because he most likely going to be able to answer that for you. I'm not going to stand here and lie to anyone or make up answers. That's one thing I will not do. If it's something that we don't know, I don't know, I'm going to tell you I don't know. But I'll get you their answer. I'll get your information, and we'll get your response as needed. So at this time, any questions you have, any comments, good or bad, we want to hear that. We already know it's a whole lot of money. We know that. We definitely know that. But again, we know what our needs are. And so if you have any alternatives or anything, please share that. If you can't share with the larger group, let me know afterwards, and we can set up a meeting. I'm doors open. My staff will tell you, if anyone, you call me, email me, I will call you back. I will invite you to come to my office, and we can talk through some things. So feel free to come to the mic and share any questions or comments you have.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Dr. Sutton, and your whole team for the vision that you put forth for us. My name is Emily Davis Jackson, and I'm a proud graduate of Chester High School in 1976. So that's how long I've been in this building. But anyway, I'm just excited to be here to support this vision, and I'm hoping that this bond referendum passes. And just like you mentioned about the Vote No Committee, can you tell me what are the strategies that are in place and that will be implemented in order to get a Vote Yes committee out there and to get this information out to the community? I just haphazardly kind of stumbled on this, the open forum that we had tonight, town hall. And so it just seems like half of the people are here are your staff or community members. and I don't see too many community members. I mean, you know, the people that it's going to impact the most. And so if you could just give me some strategies that are in place.
Yes. Well, thank you for that.
In any way that I can support you, please.
Yes.
You know.
And I'm not putting Mr. Chris up on the spot of market communication, but of course it's on our website, it's on our social media pages, it's been on there for about a month now, to go to these meetings, and again, social media is the key way. We've actually had meetings with the Ministerial Association in the past, and we made them aware, and so if you have any other outlets we can try, we want to hear that. To get that word out. There's only so much at the point. There's only so much we can do as a district staff. We can't advocate for. We can only share information, which we're doing tonight. The Vote Yes Committee, Bond Committee, will be meeting on Tuesday at the district office at 6 p.m. Now, district staff members are, which I've shared with the entire district through email recently, we are allowed to advocate after work hours as district staff throughout the entire district and board members alike. But we'll definitely be careful, because what we don't want is someone from vote no, now I have to say, well, we've done something wrong, and then it comes some big investigation, which we don't need. We're trying to do what's best for children. We don't need all these other distractions. We're trying to do what's best for the children of this county moving forward. But there will be those out there that are looking to poke holes in what we have, and what we're trying to do to just cause disruption. But we'll work through that. That's what anything we have in life. So I think I went a different direction with the question, but I'm going to get back to it right now. But the Vote Yes Committee, the Bond Committee, will be meeting 6 p.m. at the district office on Tuesday at 6 p.m. So we will definitely send it out through a phone call or email through to parents, and we'll have that posted on social media as well. So if you're able to come next Tuesday at 6 p.m., please do so and be a part of the committee. It's the time commitment, of course, we're at a condensed timeline. It doesn't require a whole lot of time as far as commitment on those who volunteer. So thank you for sharing that. And those are things we'll take note of, as far as how can you tell me, well, you might do afterwards, how are you able to find out? Did somebody tell you, or where did you find about the meeting?
I read the Chester report. I think it was 2 weeks ago that I saw it. And I didn't see it anymore.
Okay.
It was a weekly paper, so.
Yes. All right. That's good feedback for us. Thank you so much. Got that, Mr. Chris? Mr. Gomez, he helped us too with that. All right, any other comments, questions?
I do.
Yes.
I'm sure. Let me see if I can get this down so I can get my sound out. I have a couple of questions that probably someone can give me an answer to. I'm Carol Germain. I'm a retired English teacher living in Chester County. I've been here since 1995. I taught at Louisville High School. I currently work at adult education. I have a vested interest as, both a retired teacher and as a taxpayer. And there were a couple of things that occurred to me. One, when I looked at the plan for Chester High School, I was struck by the fact that it says it's for 900 students. Now, if I am incorrect, please correct me, but I believe that the enrollment at Chester High School right now is somewhere in excess of 800. Am I correct? No. What is the enrollment?
762.
762, okay, so the enrollment, since the last time it was posted has declined. So you're looking at building a high school to serve 900 students. So my question is, you're looking at this for Chester High School, looking at 600 for Louisville High School, but you're talking about growth. So I'm asking, where is the potential for growth? In other words, if we're going to put $265 million into refurbishing or building schools, what is the potential for growth, and how can that be accommodated in the present plan? That's number one. There are several, okay? Take notes.
You might want to answer one question. I might not remember that many.
Take notes. The next thing, and I'm coming from a position here that I will consider to be my ignorance. I was under the impression that the building of the Career Center was a fait accompli. I believed that we were invested in building. a new career center, and that part of that would be adult education, and that would take place near SC Works and York Tech over off Route 9. But I'm seeing it as part of this expenditure in my mind, and I'm saying I'm obviously wrong about this. I thought that there was somewhere in the neighborhood of around $43 to $45 million that had been allocated based on the retiring of an old bond, and that money was to be reinvested in the building of a career center, separate and apart from anything that would be happening with either Chester High School, Louisville High School, or Great Falls High School rebuilding, but there would be renovations made out of that $43 million. So my question is, what happened to that? And where did I lose that? And I thought I was paying attention, but apparently I wasn't, because somewhere I lost that in all of this. The other thing, and this is, you know, from a personal perspective, I am looking at the plan to build or refurbish 3 high schools. And again, some years back, prior to your being here, the discussion was about 1 high school and then 2 high schools. And that the 2nd high school would accommodate the students. I see you looking at me over here. What are you talking about, Jim Fuller? That that would accommodate students from Louisville and from Great Falls. Now, I don't think that I know the numbers exactly, but, you know, I'm a little bit off with what I was with Chester, but I'm not that far off. So I'm asking, when we are looking at this, are we looking at a long-term proposition? Are we looking at growth, which is going to account for new students, new families moving into this area? Or are we going to have to, in 4 or 5 years, come back to this and say, we didn't quite get it where we wanted it to be then, so we've got to come back to it again now and think about what's going to happen? The other part of my question is, with the growth factor, it's taking place in Chester County, and we are aware of this, what's happening with, you know, Gallo Industries, what's happening with other companies moving into the area. How does that impact what the tax burden will be for people living in the county if we know that there are 300, you know, patio homes, if there are going to be 1,100 homes moving into the area, and then whatever else is going to be here? How does that affect me? How does that affect what I'm going to be paying over time when new people who will be taxpayers move into this community? And is that being accounted for too? Now, I may think something else, but this is what I've thought of while I'm sitting here.
Great questions.
So,
you have to go back and give me a little hint on number 1. I forgot.
Take notes. Take notes. I have listened, and I know Ms. Jeanette knows this, some of the other people here know this. I've heard, you know, a lot of this before, and I've listened to it before, and I support, you know, we all do. There is no one who does not want our students to have the brightest and the best. We want them to have everything that can possibly be provided for them to give them the opportunities that they need. But we want to do, if we're going to do this, we need to do it right. And I'm sure that you have thought about it. I'm sure that you've discussed it and been through this over and over. And we have heard these discussions. Now we're at a point where the amount of money that we were thinking about 3 years ago has doubled. And in that amount of money doubling, we have added a lot to the plate. And we know that these are good expenditures, these are things that need to be done. But I'm asking that question again. Have we truly considered what is going to happen in the future? Are we in a position right now where these 3 schools are going to satisfy our needs? Or was there an alternative to this which would give us 2 really good schools or 1 really good school and provide that for the students? So
Okay.
that's my question.
Well, don't go anywhere, don't have to, you have to get me back on track with question 2, 3, 4.
Well, I think come up with something else.
Yes.
Yes.
On question 1.
I know you hope I don't.
I'll hit the playback for you, sir.
What now?
I'll hit the playback
You
for
hit the
you.
play, okay, we have to play that.
What are you doing?
Question 1.
Yes.
What was question 1? Just gonna give me a little quick.
Well, you were talking about a question about 900 students
Yes.
in Chester High School, 600 in Louisville High School, and whatever number,
Okay.
would be.
Yes, and we do, and what's that percentage we kind of go with when you're building a new facility? You just understand, as the growth comes, you're not going to, it's not going to show up in school one August and have 200-300 kids waiting at the door.
No.
You know, you just disperse throughout grades K through 12, right? You're not going to have all of us when it comes to the high school, so kids still matriculate through each year and they move on and another grade level comes up. And so, right now, we have some initial, we're getting some information, we have a meeting tomorrow with our consultant, Tish Levice, as far as the impact fees. And that's might jump to one of the other questions on future growth. With the impact fee in place, that comes into play. That's what several districts already have one in place. Clover School District, Fort Mill, I think, and Lancashire as well, on the impact fees will help pay down the debt. So that doesn't bring it, the ball can continue to have that huge burden on current taxpayers. Growth pays for growth. That's how the impact fee works, the impact on the school system. So that amount that's allocated or designated, which county council will have to approve once we have the information and share that, once we get the information, the numbers, that money can only be used to pay down school debt. When you talk about the growth of schools, you get to Lewisville High School, they currently have 380 students at Lewisville High School. With the developments that we already have in the works that have already been approved, with the study right now, it doesn't show, if the current school were to remain in place, they wouldn't get to the max out point until I wrote it down, 2032. 2032 at Lewisville High School.
600.
What now? Sorry.
To get to 600.
Yes, it'll reach, in the preliminary estimates, it'll reach 700 students by 2032.
Okay.
And that's if we kept the current facility. If we kept the current facility in place, the current facility, it had to list as a capacity of 720 at the current Louisville High School. Now, I guess I mentioned at the Louisville meeting on Tuesday, everybody would say, oh no, the school's overcrowded. Yeah, you might have every classroom being utilized, but you haven't maxed out all desks in the classroom.
Right.
We all have ideal class sizes that we want to have, so we can put more kids in the current high school, but that's not the desire. We want to have classrooms, former teacher. You don't want nobody, I'm a former teacher as well, 30, 35 to 1. We don't want that. So our current schools can hold more, but it's going to just be more added to current classrooms and pack those classrooms. And so, again, as far as the projection that we initially right now, we'll have some more information tomorrow, it has Louisville High School reaching 700 students in 2032. And it took into account current developments that have already been approved by county council. There's a multiplier they use because not every single home will bring students. So they have a multiplier they use. They use historical data and trends because they do this type of work throughout the entire country. And they do that. And a lot of so what they've done so far has been pretty close to it, close to what they projected. So with that being said, 700 students by 2032. Can we go ahead and build a high school out to reach that now? We could, but that increases $263 million, which we're already fighting now with some for the tax impact. So we can build schools big, we can build whatever size the community wants us to build them, but it's going to cost more, and is the community willing to go to the ballot box on May 14th and hit yes for a $300 million or $330 million bond to increase the cost? So that's what we have to keep in mind. We did a percentage over where we are now. Again, Louisville has 380 students currently enrolled. It's being built for 600. So we're already going to, when we get to that point, it won't be at that point yet where it's maxed out. And every district does this. You can't build, it's hard to do that 10, 15, and 20 years out. At that point, we get there, the facility says no on the plans, but we can add on to schools. That happens. You look around the districts, they do it. They add on. If it's huge and we notice the numbers pick up more, then you look at an additional high school in the impacted areas.
Okay, so the plan is for growth. In other words, that there is the potential,
Yes.
there is the space, there is
Yes.
whatever the other things that are necessary in order for there to be growth, if growth is needed, without having to come back to the taxpayer and say, well, we need another $50 million because we have to put an addition on this building. That was my question.
Yes, because as the growth comes, again, with the impact fee, and then you increase, as people move here, you increase your tax base. So then we wouldn't have to, because we would be able to borrow within our current 8% bar capacity to fund it without having a bond vote, like that's what we're doing now.
Let me interrupt and make this statement, and I think, from my perspective, and maybe there are others who would be like me who are not, I'm not an accountant, I'm an English teacher, I don't know that much about, finance and how those things work, but it makes a difference to hear and to know and understand, that there is that potential there, and also to know how growth in this area impacts what we currently have. Because those people are going to come in and they're going to buy homes, whether they have a child in the school or not, they're still going to pay property tax. They're going to pay tax on their home, tax on their car, and that money goes somewhere. Where does that money go?
Oh, it comes to the school system to pay the debt.
How does it defray, if it does, the cost of what we currently have? Or is it kind of put into a fund balance that in the event that you need $30 million to put an addition on Chester High School, then that money is there? That's kind of what my question is, if I
And
clarify.
Mr. Director, correct me if I'm wrong, but as the community grows and new homes come, it'll just still, because it's on there, your taxes as debt, so it'll go towards paying the bonds off. It's not saved anywhere. It just goes towards paying down the debt quicker. So
And I'm saying this from my perspective, but when you think about, how people respond to $263 million or $265 million, there is so much more that needs to be said to help people understand what happens with that money, rather than just an oh my God moment, that we are a poor district, we can't afford that, how are we going to meet that tax, meet the taxes. There are things that are going to happen that will help the people who are currently involved, and where that is going to be good for the students further down the road. I think it's an important thing. I apologize for this. I have allergies. I do not have COVID. I've been tested, and I know it sounds like I do, but I don't. I just, pollen.
have you been out of the country the past 7 to 14 days?
No, it's pollen. I've already been to the doctor about that stuff. But anyway, thank you for that explanation, because, I think that it's really important for us to understand all of the little innuendos, the little details of these things, because it helps us be on that side that's going to support what's going to happen and what is going to change. The one thing I feel very strongly about, and I'll say this just as for a matter of course, when we talk about 3 high schools, the one thing I feel is that we have to be very cautious about what we do with our most vulnerable populations. And I think that one of the things that happens is that you don't want to isolate your vulnerable population. You want, if we go back to what John Dewey said years ago about why we need public education, then that's what we should be thinking about, is that it's all about raising them all up. Not raising up some, but raising them all. And I think that that's part of it. And if we have that opportunity to be able to bring our students together in a common ground and in a common area where they learn from one another, and that they learn how to learn from one another, I think that this is an important part of it. I think you'll know from my I would support, a consolidation. I would support, 2 schools in the district, because I think it would be good for us. And again, I'll say because of those who are underserved or who are vulnerable in what we do. And we see them every day, and they are the ones that need, that extra push, to get them there.
Yes.
Anyway, my other question was about the Career Center and where that money went.
Yes. Now, the Career Center, we have it split into 3 phases. So again, we can't, you're right, the total is about $43 million, but again, we're able to, you want to explain please where we have that?
Wasn't that already, in other words, I really felt like when I said a fait accompli, I felt that we already had decided that that was kind of a done deal in the Chester district. What happened to it?
Okay, when the board moved to go forward with the Career Center, it was our own design. since Dr. Sutton has come on and Ms. Dickerson has assumed the role as director of the Career Center, we went back to the folks at the Career Center, talked to the teachers, talked what plans we needed. We've actually expanded the career choices at the Career Center, and the cost did go up. It was our plan initially to fund it using our 8% capacity. That is money that we do not have to go to the voters for.
Right.
And we can borrow against our assessed value up to 8%. Well, when we added on the extra programs, the cost went up. So what we said was, let's build phase 1 with our 8% capacity, and if you've been by, you've seen the signs are up. We have our broken ground, we're getting close, we're ready to do site development. Phase 2 and 3, we put in the referendum to attempt to move that forward quicker. Does that answer your question?
It does, and if I'm understanding this correctly, in that $27 million, that part of it would be the overage, I'm assuming, that was incurred because of the extended, cost and different things that happened with the Career Center.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I did feel like that we really were already in that process of having a Career Center. Those of us in adult ed we were packing. We were packing. We figured, we talked to Mr. Biggins today, but we figured there's room for us,
There is.
that's where we're going to go. I may not be there, at that time, but it will be, a good facility.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
thank you for explaining that. Okay.
And so, yes, the plan is for our Career Center, if, let's say, worst case, if bond fails, we will continue to work on it with our current bond capacity, with our 8% capacity. And just understand the board has not increased that in years, so we're not even borrowing our full amount of the 8% that we're getting. It's like maybe 6.5 or so million that we're able to generate right now. So you divide 43 million times 6, that puts us at 5 or so years if the bond fails. Now, if it passes, we're able to get all the funds forward. We can have the Career Center up in a year and a half. So a year and a half to 5 years. That's the option. So I'll address the last piece of it as far as the consolidation. I know when I came here and as I went throughout this county since 2020, that's one of the things that's a no-no. I was told not to even mention the C word. Because by me saying it, then people take it and say, well, he's going to consolidate schools. I'm not consolidating schools. Everybody is hearing that. That's recorded as well. We're not consolidating schools. That has not been discussed by the board in private and executive session, nothing about consolidating schools. We're maintaining all 3 high schools in Chester County. I'll say it again for the record. I don't want anyone walking out of here saying, Dr. Sutton said we're closing schools and consolidating. We are not consolidating any schools in Chester County. And a big part of that is community pride. Community pride. And the way our communities are structured in this county, if we say we're going to consolidate, we still won't get the money to vote because they're voted down. Every community wants to hold on to their schools. I get that. High schools are private communities. And we're just not there yet as a county. We're not there as a county to consolidate. We're not.
Well, and I think that has, become obvious to all of us, over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's, again, I go back to that thing of, making sure that, everyone, we're lifting everyone.
I agree.
And I think that would be,
Yes.
the best thing. But thank you.
Thank you.
for my time. Thank you for your answer.
Not at all.
Thank you.
Yes.
I have just one question. You kind of touched on, I was standing here so long, we're going to sit down. But full disclosure, I know Dr. Sutton from the previous life, and you couldn't find a more honorable man for this position. And I appreciate what you do here in Chester County and what your vision is. You touched upon my question, and maybe you can expound a little bit more if you have a bit more information on the impact fee, where you are at with that, and how that would actually help with the construction costs, like we've seen in some neighboring districts.
All right, what we're in the phase, like we meet tomorrow, they're still working on, they received some information from the county pretty late, so they're still working on the calculations. So we got a meeting tomorrow with them on 10 a.m. And Mr. Jeanette and I and Mr. Davis will have a teams meeting with virtual meeting to kind of see where we are with the information. I already have preliminary information. So once we're able to get that, we share, of course, with the school board, and then we have the board to vote to move forward with allow me to go to county council with the recommended amounts from the study. So let's say they say it should yield about $15,000 per home, and they have different categories for mobile homes, multi-family homes, single family. They have different amounts for those. We would take that to county council, then it's county council at that point, well, it goes to the zoning board first. The zoning board will then keep the amounts recommended by the consultants, or they can lower it. They can lower it, and then it goes to county council for a vote. So once it gets to that point, if county council votes yes for it, it's effective the next day. And it's at that point of getting a building permit for any new homes, they pay that fee at that point. And that goes into a fund that the county keeps, and then it rolls over to the district throughout during the year, and it can only be used to pay down debt for school construction. It can't be used for anything else in the district, only construction. And that's where the impact fees will help in paying off these bonds sooner, which is a benefit for the taxpayers. And of course, so they'll pay the impact fee on the front end, and then as a resident of the county, then they'll of course be paying on the taxes of it, so this bond will be paid off quicker, and so overall it helps pay off the bond quicker throughout the county.
Thank you.
All right. Questions, comments? And we'll hang around after for those of you may have, you want to speak as an individual or anything, but.
Great evening, everyone. I just want to say, Dr. Sutton, and to your team, I thank you all so very much for moving us into the 21st century. I am excited as a proud graduate of this Chester High School and having attended the Career Center and been taught in this district, it is time to move forward. It is my prayer that all citizens of this fair county will vote yes. Of course, I do not use my voice as influence to say, you better vote this way. I do expect that we will be informed and that we will vote our conscience. And in my conscience, as coming back home to invest in the community that I love, it's time to move forward. And I'm all about that. And so, that's my position is the affirmative, all the way. One of my former bishops said, good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes better and your better becomes best. In Chester County, we deserve the best. God bless you.
Thank you.
Hello. I do have a question, and it's one that's been asked of me that I think would benefit a lot of the community to actually hear what the answer is. And it is, right now we're planning to build Chester High School on the Fraser property, and I know that it was looked at, you know, why didn't we build it here? And I think if we can go over some of those reasons and what the cost comparisons were and why we chose why it was chosen to build on the Fraser property versus at this site. I think that would help answer some questions that a lot of people in the community have.
And that's one I'm not prepared. I can't answer that because again I wasn't here, so that's pretty me, but actually I can get you an answer too. Unless, and I don't want to put the board members on the spot for that. Well, Mr. Thompson, you have
Glad to talk a little bit about that. So we did look at, and we did study from a space planning and master planning standpoint originally, how we might implement a new career center and a new high school on this campus. As you know, every property is different. Every property has its own set of good features, bad features, and attributes. So in looking at that study, we just found that it was not really possible to get everything together into one major master plan for this campus. The things about that were that the school itself, this school, sits in the center area of the campus. It would have to remain operational during construction because it is larger than it is the largest school within the district. The pieces that we would have to build around the school would be so far apart from each other at the end of the day when we eventually demolished this facility that it would be a little bit more unreasonable to expect kids to go travel that distance from point A to point B during their school day. So we did study that just to make sure that we had that right. This property is of the size though that it can entertain some of those features that we can't entertain on the Fraser property. You know, those expanded practice fields, expanded competition fields and the like were more conducive over in that property overall. I hope that answers your question, Steve. We did take a look at it.
Thank you. All right, getting close to bedtime for me. So I'm going to close out, but then we'll hang around afterwards to kind of, if there's additional questions, comments you all have. As I mentioned before, we have the opportunity to bring about generational change for this county. 50 years, keep that in mind, 50 years, our high schools have not been touched. We're in 2022. Chester High was built in 1974, Louisville High School in 1972, the Career Center in 1968. I'll leave it at that. I ask when you go to the polls, again, I can't, as a superintendent, tell you how to vote. I just ask when you're in the voting booth, you ask yourself, are you voting for what's best for the students of Chester County? Just ask yourself that at the polls on May 14th. And the last question you ask yourselves, are our students worth it? Are they worth it? They're no less than any other student in this country. And I had a teacher mention to me at Louisville High School, a teacher there, after the meeting, she said, as she started to discuss with some of our students in our class, they said, do they not care for us? Just in discussion with students, this is a teacher, she mentioned to me, she said, as they were hearing some things about, some people may not vote for these reasons, so the students brought it up in the class. Do they not care for us in this county? That's powerful. And so again, I thank you for your time. If there's anything we can do, any other groups you want us to get in front of to share information, we appreciate the feedback. We will take that and adjust things as needed. But we just want you all to be informed. We don't want any misconception or anything out there. If you hear anything, please direct them to call me. Call the district office, 385-6122. If something's not clear, ask for Dr. Antoine Sutton, Superintendent. Ms. Kelly McConnell will direct you to me via email or phone, and we will get back to you. We have nothing to hide. We're open as possible, transparent. Just reach out to us. If you don't reach us, we don't know. We don't want anybody staying in silos. Reach out to us. Let us inform you. So when May 14th comes, we'll have that turn that we need to move forward with our schools in this district. Thank you for your time, everyone, for being here. Have a great night.